Welcome to the Word, Sound, and Power Hour. Why should we take a moment to pray? Hear the stories behind our new song as we discuss Avion's upbringing, difficulties, trauma, where she found hope, and why prayer helps.
Word, sound, and power. That's what I need in every hour.
Welcome to the Word, Sound, and Power Hour. This is Mark Moore, and joining me today is
Avion,
my beautiful wife, Avion Blackman. Last week, we touched on some very sensitive issues, and I shared my testimony. I shared aspects of my testimony that I've really never shared before from stage, darkest moments of my life, and how I got through them, how I kept in step with the Spirit. You know, there are these pivotal moments in life where you're faced with a decision to go left or to go right. As I like to say, a road diverged in the wilderness, and I took the one less traveled. It was the best decision of my life. Sometimes we're in a tangled mess of roads, and sometimes it's not that we get ourselves into a mess, but it seems like a mess just kind of attacks us from all sides, and it's a tangled mess. And today, I want to get into Avion's side, Avion's testimony, and really find out the heart behind some of the lyrics that she sings on songs like Let It Go, even the new single Moment to Pray, which was written by her sister, but so many of these lyrics are so relevant. Where's the hope? We can't take no more now. And where's the peace? So first of all, Avion, obviously you're my wife, you're in the house with me, but how are you doing? How are you taking this whole pandemic, the quarantine, the everything?
Well, the quarantine part is for me, with my personality, I'm taking it very well because I'm a home person. I like to be at home. So I haven't been able to be at home for at least 5 years. We've been home for 2 weeks at a time throughout a month. So it's kind of good to be home. So I'm enjoying that aspect of it. Still busy.
Yeah, very busy.
Still very busy. But still get to sleep in my bed. So I give thanks for that. Obviously, I don't like the part that people are sick and all that.
Yeah.
You know, what everybody's going through right now. So... But everything you have to, take the good out of the bad. At the same time, whatever's going on, you always try to. That's my motto in life. Always latch on to the good.
Yeah, keep it optimistic. Glass half full, even if there's a little left in it. Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to delve into your testimony, your story. Your dad invented soca music, and before that he was a calypsonian. Tell us what soca calypso was, how he came about with that.
Well, soca calypso is the heart of Caribbean music, and it was a lot of times it dealt with issues and stuff. And then so for years he was doing that, and there was a lot of tension between Indians and Africans, because Trinidad consists of Indians and Africans, East Indians and Africans. There were a lot of racial tension, and he was trying to find a way where he can bring the both races as one. We are Trinidadians, not I'm African, you are East Indian. And so he started, he was all about music. His whole life is music. So what way to try to bring that was through music. And music have a way, it brings people together. So he pulled from the African rhythms and East Indian rhythms and put them together and put them on the drum set, like the tabla drum and the African drum, how you play it. He put it onto a trap set. Yeah. Yeah. So he did that and he called it soca. At first,
soul of calypso.
Yeah, soul of calypso. And it was a whole new thing then, and
the inventor of soca.
Yeah.
Which is now the heartbeat of the Caribbean, especially around carnival time.
Yes.
And is translated into dancehall and reggaeton.
Yeah. So he did that years ago. And yeah, it did bring a lot of people together. So as Trinis.
I'm looking at this picture of your dad, Ross Shorty Eye. What do you think of when you, first of all, you didn't call him daddy.
No.
You never called him dad. Why not?
Well, when I was a very little girl,
Yeah.
When I was around 3-4 years old,
Yeah.
I used to call him daddy. And then he had a whole conversion,
Yeah.
where he became a Christian, but he was really radical about it. So there was a lot of things he had changed, and one of them was his name. He changed it from Shorty to
Lord
Ross.
Shorty.
From Lord Shorty
Yeah,
to...
no Christian would want to call themselves Lord, so
Yeah.
he's got to get rid of that.
Change it to Ross Shorty Eye.
And what does Ross mean?
It means head,
Uh-huh.
so it means head of his family.
Yeah.
And
And Shorty, was he short?
no, he was quite the opposite.
How tall?
He was like 6 feet something, very, very, very tall,
Yeah.
almost 7 feet. So one of the things he had changed was calling him daddy. So at first he said, "Call me elder."
Elder?
That
Which
didn't
is
fly.
super weird.
That didn't fly. We kept on calling him daddy, and then he's like, "You know what? Just call me by my name." He said, "Shorty Eye," and then we're like, "Yeah, it's too long." So we just started calling him Shorty Eye.
Shorty Eye.
And
So
that
you
was
can
it.
hear in those old Love Circle albums, Shorty Eye.
Yeah.
With like Isaac or somebody else would be talking.
Yeah.
That's a trip. Yeah, it's funny because ironic, or I'm not sure if ironic's the right word, but in America, if you refuse to call them dad or father or daddy, and you insist on calling somebody their name, that's actually a level, an issue of disrespect. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not calling you dad, but in your dad's case, he wanted to make sure that, hey, you know, I'm not father. There's only
Yeah.
one father. It's the
Yeah.
Father in heaven. Okay, so next question. What do you think of when you see that picture of him?
Oh, this one? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what words would you use to describe your father?
Looking at that picture.
Just period, overall. Just this picture's in our living room. What words would you use to describe him?
Super creative. He's extremely creative. And I guess with that creativity, he seemed to have like an extreme personality. He's super extreme. As I said, he would take things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call me father, because it's in one father. in heaven.
Extremist.
Yeah, extremist.
So if he was going to fast, he would fast for how long?
Yeah. Well, he would go, he'd go all in, If you're going to read a book, he go all in fast. And,
So he tried some other religions first.
Yeah.
Which ones did he try?
Here he went into like Hinduism, Muslim, Buddhism.
Rastafarianism.
Yeah, Rastafarianism. And then...
Lord knows for a while he smoked weed like a Rasta.
uh-huh. And then the last thing he was philosophy.
Philosophy.
Yeah. And when he was into philosophy, he found Christianity during that period. He found Jesus. And I don't know how he found Jesus through philosophy. I guess with philosophy, you read a lot of different books. They have the Quran, this, that. They do with like all the religions. Yeah. And that was the one that stuck out to him the most. And he went to his teacher one day and said, I've been like, I feel like I have found what I'm looking for. I feel like this is, but he was expecting to say, for the teacher to like tell him otherwise.
Guide him in a different direction.
Guide him in a different direction. And the teacher said, to look to him and said, you have reached man number 7. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? Man number 7. He said, you've reached the highest level and you should continue in this path and don't look back. Don't come back here anymore and follow that path.
I love that. I get goosebumps just hearing that story. And so I love the fact that 6 is the number of man and 7 is the number of God, or a number that's used to describe him. And it's like, this guy's like, you've reached man number 7. Turn away from all other religions and follow Jesus. What happened to that teacher?
Oh, well, I guess he got fired because he was not.
He wasn't there anymore.
No, wasn't there
Maybe
anymore.
he was an angel. You never know.
Yeah.
Definitely a messenger from God. Wow, that's profound. So your dad, he had a band and he toured the world.
Yeah.
And so you didn't see him often.
No.
And when you did see him, it was definitely during carnival season.
Yeah.
And he would come and go. And he always left a seed behind. Usually would meet another of his children. How many children did your mother have with him? 14.
Well, 12 alive, but
Two.
two
Died at birth?
Yeah, they lived for a few hours and passed.
That is so sad.
Yeah, but 12.
That's an even dozen.
Yeah, even dozen.
My gosh. And so you were towards the end, but it's felt like the middle for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like a middle. I'm number 6. Yeah, so I'm in that.
Straight.
Yeah, I'm direct.
middle, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, your dad, after he came to Christ, the last thing that he struggled with was weed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how did that go down with your parents? Was there tension between them? Over
Oh,
the weed?
yeah. There was a lot of tension when he was smoking weed at the time. A lot of arguments, my mom, and he wasn't very productive. He's, very, as, I don't know, when somebody in weed, I guess loser.
You just described a weed smoker. Yeah, definitely unproductive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
causing tension.
I think, yeah. Thinking that him just sitting down reading the Bible is all he needs to do.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of tension in the house because there's a lot of mouths to feed, and my older brothers, they had to pick up a slack and go and look for food, So there was a lot of tension, and eventually my dad had extramarital affairs in the past, and they would work through those things. But when it came to weed, that was the one time she ever threatened to leave him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's cheating on her, and she can get through it. Of course, he says he's not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But when it comes to weed, so that just shows you how much it was changing.
Yeah.
I remember you saying one time that she would say to him, "It's like a marijuana seed popped in your head." What did that mean to her?
Because he was so different.
So different.
Yeah.
It would change your countenance,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why none of us in the band smoke weed. Why we are all sober, why we quit. Those who do, I used to do it. I used to grow it. I used to deal it. And Avion, did you ever try marijuana?
No.
Did you ever get drunk?
No.
So you had a very pure upbringing.
Yeah. I was around it. Even as a kid, my dad used to take me everywhere with him in these Rasta communes and stuff. And they would, in the Rasta commune, they smoking weed is a sacrilege.
Sacrament.
Yeah, sacrament, sorry. It's a sacrament.
Definitely sacrilegious too, but it was a sacrament.
It was a sacrament.
Uh-huh.
So it was like big fat joints, people would be smoking at a time.
Yeah.
And even the kids my age group was smoking it.
Okay.
So my head is I'm playing with T-John and this one and that one, and they're fighting. Daddy, T-John wouldn't give me back my joint. And
oh my gosh, how old are these kids that are smoking weed?
Like 4 and 5, 6.
Oh my gosh!
It was the Rasta communes. It was like that, and still, I never
did it.
I never did it. Even when I was a teenager, I had friends who encouraged me, begging me, "Hey, try it." And
why didn't you succumb to peer pressure? What was your secret? Because Lord knows I did. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be cool. I know Marcus is going to be sharing in a future podcast about how he wanted to fit in. Why didn't you?
I saw how it affected people.
Yeah.
How it affected my parents' relationship. And then I had a few cousins who tried it and they lost it. They weren't the same. They had like something snap in the head.
Loose screw after
it? What do you call like bipolar and schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. I guess I had a fear for it. Yeah. I didn't like what it did to people. And I was been around it so much and I see what it did to how it had people.
I like that you cared more about the outcome than the fitting in or being accepted.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Your father also had a band, and this band was touring, as I mentioned. And one time in Canada, something happened. What happened with him in Canada while touring?
maybe Canada, New York. I can't remember if it was New York or Canada, but there was a mutiny, I guess you put it.
Mutiny, I know that. I spoke about that in the last episode.
Where they all turned around and wanted the band for themselves, and they throw him out, and that really hurt him because he invested so much into these people. Yeah. He thought that they were his family.
Word, I can relate to that.
Yeah, and for that to happen, it threw him off, where he was suicidal. He got into deep depression.
Wow.
Because of it. And while he was there, he was about to jump off a building onto the train tracks.
Wow.
And he heard the voice of God telling him to not do it.
No way.
Yeah. And that's when he started seeking spirituality, and that's when he said this and that, and different things.
That's profound. Yeah. And in all that lemon turned into lemonade. He eventually realized he's got a whole band full of kids at home.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been spending a lot of time with them. And Lord knows that when you have a musician, a professional musician, there's going to be instruments in the house, and there's going to be a desire to learn. I mean, I'm looking at our walls. We have 5 guitars on the wall that I can see, and a bunch of instruments behind me. I can imagine your brothers and sisters wanted to jam. When and how did it come to play where he said, "You're going to be my backing band"?
Well, when he came back from the States, he came back and he said, "Well, kids, I'm going to make you my backing band." And he started training everybody in different things. And everybody, as I say, had, was dabbling in this or that, we were naturally musical and interested. So it was exciting. But I was the youngest at the time. And I'm seeing everybody practicing, and I kept saying, "I want to be a part of the band." And it's like, no, you're too small.
You were how old?
I was like 3.5. One day, we had this thing we used to play for years before he did that, called Antique. It was like an American Idol. And back then,
your own talent show.
Yeah, your own talent show. So we used to play that game. So one day I set up my stage and I auditioned myself. I sang a song and I said, "I would like to join the band."
So you're saying that Christafari got started from a talent show, from me doing a talent show, and you joined your band with a talent show. That's cool. And so what was your song?
It's a song called Chiquitita.
Sing it for us now. Just a moment, just a touch. Go for it.
I know it's by ABBA.
Go for it, by ABBA. Just give me a taste of that Trini accent with it. Go for it.
I can't remember the words. I think it's Chiquitita, you and I know something. I see. Chiquitita, you and I know. I
can imagine you with this tiny little voice and this big personality. You had a big personality, didn't you?
Well, I didn't. At least for me, I don't think I did.
I saw a video of you walking and singing as a very young youth. You were boldly singing.
Yeah,
but you were a born performer. But are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm definitely an introvert.
You're a house cat, and I'm a lion that needs 40 square miles to roam.
Yep.
We are opposites in so many ways.
Described.
Okay, so I want to delve into something. By the way, this is I'm looking at a picture here of your family. It's really hard to see because it's so black and white. And that is, how old do you think you were in this shot?
I think probably 7.
7,
yeah.
And you're singing with your hands up in the air, and your brother's playing congas, and your other brother's playing drums, and somebody else is playing a hand drum. Your dad's playing guitar, and you guys all have dreads. Did you have dreads as a little kid? And when you were singing Chiquitita on stage, how did the crowds respond to you?
Well, they had this every Sunday. They used to have a kids calypso tent. We used to sing in the calypso tent, and the adults would. It's the weekend, but from Friday and Saturday and Sundays, they used to have the kids, and obviously I would sing. They featured me. I'd sing a few songs, and the kids, they loved me and everything. And until, well, especially back then in the 70s, when they liked you on stage, they used to throw money on stage or jewelry.
Jewelry, that's pretty serious.
Yeah, anything valuable they would put there for you. And so a lot was coming on stage, and all the different hats and different things were falling up the guitar cases.
The guitar case is full of money already. Wow.
Yeah. So then my dad said, "Oh, I was wearing this hat. I used to wear this big poofy hat thing because I had dreads,
like popcorn, like stove pop hats, full. Okay."
and
Jiffy Pop, I think is the word
he
I'm
said,
looking for.
"Oh, take off your hat and let's get the rest, put the rest of the money in it." And so I took off my hat, and all the kids were in front of the stage, really exciting themselves and stuff. And I took off my hat, and obviously I had these fat dreads came out, and all the kids started screaming and running back. And saying she's a Rasta, and it was like a nightmare, like a bad dream. Back then, having dreads,
it was dreadful.
Yes.
Hence
why the nickname dreads. It's really called locks.
Yeah, locks or dreadlocks, but
so it was you were like an outcast out of society with
and your dad used to literally walk in burlap.
Yeah.
Barefoot or with sandals and dreads, and everybody thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
And now they see you taking off your hat, and your hair was looking like tarantula.
Dreads.
And these kids are running and screaming.
Yeah.
And how was that? How did that affect you?
It was as I say, it was like a bad nightmare, especially for a kid. I remember crying nonstop and then saying I want them to cut it off, and they didn't want it. Obviously, my dad didn't want to cut it off, and I cried for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours nonstop. I just didn't stop crying and until they cut it off.
Wow.
And so I didn't have locks till I was 4 until I was 12. So when I was 12, then I decided, you know what, I want this.
4 was a tough year for you. That was the year that you cut off your dreads. That was the year that you felt that, everybody looking at you like that in a negative way. It was also a year or a time frame when I think your family was still living in the city, right?
Yeah.
And I can imagine with that many kids around and 2 adults there, that there are some moments where those kids are out of eyesight. And with a lot of guests coming over, everybody coming over to see Lord Shorty, as he was called, and to get a piece or have that musical influence, or to get a chance to be on stage, there was some shady influences coming into your house. Tell us as comfortably as you can share what happened at that time frame. Well,
there was this guy who used to come a lot. He was being trained to sing because my dad used to train different people. And he started molesting me. And, like, as you say, there was lots of us and everybody else was playing. And my mom had twins at the time. And, she's busy trying to clean up or cook or things like that. And she would be, like, right there in the kitchen talking to the guy. Obviously, she can't always keep eyes, but every now and then she'll look in and, So every time when her back was turned, he would molest me. But I was really uncomfortable as a 4-year-old. You're not understanding everything properly. So then we moved from the city, so that stopped happening. But for years, I didn't quite put it together that I was being molested. I didn't, all I know is I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Had this feeling, very uncomfortable. Don't touch me kind of thing. But nobody, especially in those times, it wasn't you never talked about things like that. Parents wouldn't warn kids about, hey, don't have anybody touch you here, different things like that. So I kind of like wipe it out of my memory for years. Didn't really connect it. As I get a little older, I realized, oh my gosh, I saw it for what it was.
And that affects people, obviously. And Trinidad, as I can imagine, in so many of the other nations we've been to about 85. It seems like a lot of the developing nations, a lot of the second world, third world nations, there is this extremely absurdly high percentage of molestation, of rape, of these things. I guess let's talk about the molestation part first and delve into, what do you tell your daughter now that you know this? I mean, I know from like as young as we could remember, as she could remember, we've been talking to her regularly about this. But what advice would you give to a parent in how to talk to their kids about this and make sure that this doesn't happen?
Well, for me, we talk to her about this very often. You know, you don't have people touch you in certain areas. We actually have a repeat. Which areas you don't have people touch you? Doesn't matter, male or female, family, friend. You know, people threaten you, saying that their parents would forever be disappeared. You know, different things people threaten kids with. We give her all these scenarios and stuff. Not, you know, just for her to be aware, and also for her to feel comfortable to talk to us if something like that ever happens, God forbid, you know. But I think it's very important for parents to have their kids be aware of those things, to tell them, you know.
Definitely. We have two things that we try to do regularly that may be helpful to parents out there. We have a password protected child.
Don't tell them the password.
I'm not going to tell you the password, but she has a password, meaning that if somebody ever comes saying, hey, you know, your parents urgently need you, you know, and it happens to be some random person from who knows where, only like 3 people outside of us know that password. And that is kind of that one way to keep us from having that random stranger at the show come up. And obviously a nanny helps and a whole team watching over her. And then beyond that, another thing that we were encouraged to do by a counselor that helps our band and oversees us was to each day to ask our daughter, hey, how was your day? Tell me something that made you happy and listen. Tell me something that made you sad or that hurt you or that frustrated you. And then listen and not try and come up with that solution, with that judgment, with that fix, but just listen. And when we do that, and then of course pray it out, when we do that, it creates this safe place for them to share. And, you know, there was even a recent circumstance where somebody, a friend of Ziza, said something and wanted to try something that was completely inappropriate, that was probably learned from modeling somebody else. And I'm so glad that we had that in place. We were able to nip that in the bud, to be able to go to the parent and address that. And nothing happened to our daughter. And hopefully nothing will happen with anybody else because this kid is now having a great communication with their parent regarding it. So these things are crucial. So fast forward a little bit. Okay, so you guys move out of the city. Your dad invented homeschooling, at least in Trinidad. Everybody is freaking out about the fact that Lord Shorty, now known Ross Shorty Eye, walking around barefoot, wearing burlap or sackcloth, throwing his jewelry into the ocean, going and moving out of the city, and basically taking what people are considering a vow of poverty, and turning that into a family. We're going to build a log cabin in the jungle. First cabin they built, and then you guys got your own property. And it was, how near was the closest neighbor?
About 3 miles.
3 miles away. Now, this is bush jungle here. I went and visited the place. I saw tarantulas larger than you would see in Indiana Jones. I saw birds that sounded like fax machines. And I saw giant snakes. And I went to move the curtain of the house that she used to live in. And a gigantor, like locust-looking, man-eating insect touched my hand, and I screamed and squealed high like Michael Jackson, and she laughed at me. There are lantern bugs flying around. These, I can't explain it. It's like a glow-in-the-dark helicopter or something. It is brimming with life. It's like the Avatar land.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In fact, when you saw Avatar, you're like, this reminds me of growing up. It is incredible. I remember you telling stories about the time where you're sitting at the kissing bench. Not that you're kissing anybody, but you're sitting there, and then all of a sudden you're realizing the tree is moving, and the tree is full of snakes, and the snakes are going bloop, 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 and they're giant snakes like boas. You guys had wild bobcats or ocelots, which are like
Ocelots, yeah.
small tigers. You guys had a pond that it was a river that you dammed up, turned into a pond, a little mini lake, and you swam in it every single day. And swimming in it were also
alligators. Well, not alligators, caiman. They look like alligators.
like 6 foot long
Yeah.
caiman alligators. Alligator family, we'll call them alligators. So you swam with alligators every day.
Yeah.
You would you ever cross a river or something by swinging on something?
Yeah.
What would you swing on?
On vines.
You
Yeah.
swang on vines. Okay, so I'm basically describing Robinson Family Crusoe. I'm describing Tarzan. You were Jane. Did you ever fall off of one of those vines?
Yeah.
And what happened? You hit your head.
Yeah. I saw stars and birds.
Just like in the this is reality, guys. This actually happened. Now, your dad, as we mentioned before, was an extremist in that when he had a vision or an idea to do something, he would go all out. So some of the things that he said we're going to do. Okay, let's talk about the good ones first. What time did you get up to have quiet time every day?
Like between 5:30, 6 a.m.
The whole family had to get up and do it.
Mm-hmm.
You had an altar in the front. And everybody would. What would you guys do? Would you worship with the guitars or what?
Yeah, we sing and we call it devotion.
Devotion.
Yeah, read the
Read
Bible.
from Psalms or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Have
sing
Bible
songs.
studies and-
I just wish that I could have been there for those original ones with all the harmonies and all the hand drums and all the percussionists. When I first met Avion, we'll get to that in a future episode, how we met. But I remember sitting in a room and she and like 2 other siblings were singing. And then one at a time, another sibling would come in and mom and others. And before long, it was a full band. It was the most magical thing I'd ever experienced. It was so incredible. And that was your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, your dad had some extremes, as I mentioned. For instance, when I visited the house that was still barely standing, very dilapidated, your family had moved out by then. There was no doors, no windows. Tell us about that.
Well, that was the window frame, but
The window frame.
but no shutters, I could say.
Uh-huh.
Well, he used to say he wanted the door open, the windows open, have the Holy Spirit move freely in and out.
I love it. I love it. I wouldn't recommend it because it also let the thieves move in and out,
And
right?
he also had a policy to not wear shoes in the house.
No shoes in the house. What kind of floor did you have?
Well, for one, because it was 2 different places, 2 different houses, 4 years at one and the rest of our life in another one. For the first one was down floor.
Dung floor. Okay, so you're walking on poop barefoot.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
But,
Lipe,
it's,
you call it lipe.
Yeah, lipe. It's called lipe.
It's treated in a way where it's
Yeah.
more like concrete. It's kind of like imigongo.
Yeah, exactly. It has like ashes in it,
Yeah.
and which purifies it.
So you're walking barefoot. You have no doors, no windows, but windowsills and doorways. What kind of creatures are coming into your house?
Oh, all of them.
Okay, describe. Did a bat ever fly into your house?
Of course, yeah.
Did a owl ever fly into your
Yeah.
house?
You knew
Did
that.
any ants ever come into your house?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Oh. Well, we had all kinds of ants. There are bat sharks. There are all kinds. But there was this ant in particular. It used to come out a few times a year. It's called the army ants.
Army ants. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
They come in an army.
Yeah, literally, they come in an army. It was so many, like by the thousands that wherever they were, it used to look black. It was that thick, and they would come in, swarm in the house, and like when we wake up in the morning, we see a few around the area, and we're like, okay, guys, time to get ready. So we start packing things up that we want to use for the rest of the day, and we just camp outside, and they would come in the house and clean it out, basically. Clean it out of any insects, scorpions. You see them walking out with scorpions, snakes on their heads.
Oh my god! Now, I remember in like when you used to live in a place called Lover's Lane. Yes, I met her at Lover's Lane. I would look and I would see the ground. I was like, what in the world is happening? And you got one ant's carrying a leaf, the next ant's carrying like a flower petal, the next ant's carrying, and you had a bougainvillea tree.
Yeah.
So you had a white, you had red, maroon, you had pink, you had purple,
pink,
fuchsia.
yeah.
And so it was like a carnival.
Yeah.
Kind of a little parade of these things. So these guys are carrying scorpions. So essentially, I think that you've really touched on something. What we need to do is we need to meld a pest control company that collects all the ants, and a cleaning company will be like, "Well, just move out of your house for 5 hours, and we'll have the whole place spick and span."
Yeah, they used to clean out any kind of animals, roaches, anything, centipedes. You see them walking.
You had
out.
centipedes. How big were the centipedes?
Oh, they're like that big,
a foot long, and they had basically exoskeletons that were so thick that it sounded like.
Yeah.
Like,
you hear them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Walking.
Just clacking.
Yeah.
Like a woman's very long nails on glass or something. So you had creatures coming in.
Yeah.
There was a time where you were sharing a bed with how many siblings?
Oh, probably about 5 of us in a twin bed.
In a twin bed. So I'm guessing you would sleep horizontally?
Yeah.
Okay, like a bunch of sardines in a can. And were you the youngest or the oldest in that?
No, there was 5 after me.
5 after
Yeah.
you. Okay, so you're basically sharing a bed. We won't tell you with who, but what would happen each night, almost every night?
Well, kids have problems with pee in the bed.
So how would that be solved?
Sun the mattress out.
Sun the mattress out. For those of you who don't speak fluent Trini, that means you take the mattress out and lay it out in the sun and just trust that the sun will purify it. See, that's what we need. We need more sunning for this coronavirus. Open up the beaches, please. Let's just sun it out. Okay, so you just sun it out and that's it. Okay,
yeah,
wow.
You wash the sheets and you sun
it out.
Yeah.
And how would you wash the sheets?
Well, you hand wash it with
you go down by the river.
Yeah, go down by the river. You hand wash it with soap if you don't have soap, which sometimes you didn't have soap.
What would you do?
You bulk it out.
Bucket.
Bulk.
That sounds like an onomatopoeia. So an onomatopoeia of buck is you take this cloth and you go buck,
yeah,
buck, buck on the water and you just kind of whack it clean. Mm-hmm. I wish I could whack some people clean, but the Bible says I shouldn't do that. Okay, so that's interesting. That's how how did you get your water?
From the river or
catchment,
rainwater.
Okay, so you're having to walk down, what is it, an eighth of a mile, a quarter mile down to the river?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And you're having to carry 2 buckets, and you're having to carry those those giant heavy buckets of water all the way back up to the house. How many times would you have to do that in a day?
Oh, a lot, a couple times, at least 10.
10 times, back and forth. And if each one of those is a quarter mile, we're looking at 5 miles of you having a quarter mile each way, of you having to carry buckets of water back and forth.
Yeah.
So in Trinidad, in Piparo, where they lived, if you wanted running water, you had to run and get it. Right? That's what you're saying. Now your shower. How was your shower then? You take that water and do what?
But if you wanted the shower effect, we used to take a tin pan, like from milk or whatever. You pound with a hammer with nail and make a bunch of holes, and you dip it in the bucket and.
So like a Folgers coffee can. You poke a bunch of holes in the bottom with a nail, fill it up, dump it in the bucket of water, put it over your head.
Or if you're lucky, one of your brothers or sisters will help.
Hold it over your head.
Throw the bucket of water in the can while they're standing on something.
Okay, so they stand on something, and you're and so, this is hilarious. Man, for a while I was following some hashtags third world solutions on Instagram, and I never saw that. Yeah. The brother pouring the bucket into a Folgers can with the holes punctured in the bottom. That is incredible. So as all these things are happening, obviously you're cooking for all these siblings. Now, there are 2 other things that we didn't mention. The first was that when your dad came to Christ, he came clean. A part of repentance is is actually publicly confessing, at least going to the person that you wronged. In this case, it was your mom. He came clean about his affairs. Or I think she caught him in the times before, but I think that there were certain times where she didn't know the gravity of what he was getting himself into or who he was getting himself into. And he came clean with that. And something changed drastically in your family because of that. What was that?
Oh, well, we found out we had a lot of different brothers and sisters, different times. Hey, meet your brothers. Man, meet your sister. Things like that. I had a lot of that happening. Yeah.
So how
the
many?
family was.
So you went from
bigger and bigger.
12 siblings to, by the best estimate you have, 24.
Yeah.
Doubled overnight.
Yeah.
Now, how did you
Much.
take this?
I was excited, actually. I don't know. As
More
as
friends
a child,
to play with?
Yeah, more. Yeah.
So your dad just one day is like, hey, kids, got a little confession to make. You have this many more brothers. Meet your brothers.
Yeah.
And these guys came by, and in some cases, their mother would just leave them there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just not just leave,
But
ask for permission if they could move.
yeah,
in
they would move in, and your dad would be the father, and your mom all of a sudden got a whole.
She had a big heart. My mom.
Oh my gosh, how did she do it?
God's love. She was always a Christian. Most of her life, she was a Catholic, and then she became a Christian.
Yeah.
And that's what really held her together, for years. But her heart, she was really full of love, I would say.
I would definitely say.
Yeah.
Now, when we talked about people coming into your house, and we talked about having no windows, there were times where you had tarantulas nesting above your bed, right?
Yeah.
Were you scared of that?
No.
There were times where
I was scared of snakes.
Okay, did the snakes ever come in?
Yeah, I actually got bit one time. I was sleeping and I rolled, and a snake was in my bed and bit me. Luckily, it wasn't a poisonous one. But we did everything just in case it was poisonous.
Yeah.
Cut where I got bite on my finger and cut it open and squeeze the blood.
The blood out.
Yeah. Just in case.
Snakes in your bed, swimming with alligators. This is just the beginning, because you had something else crawl into your bed. And this is where we're going to get a lot deeper. And I want to be extra sensitive. I don't want to talk about who it was, but when we talk about people coming over to your house, people moving in, somebody that was brought in that was trusted. What happened?
Well, I guess I don't know where to start. There was this person had this kind of stuff done to them. And they, lack of knowledge, and I guess as a kid, was carrying on the same behavior that was brought onto them. Yeah. And so I was targeted, I guess, because, I was
quiet, introvert.
Yeah, I was, quiet, yeah.
Young, beautiful. How old were you?
I was about 11.
Yeah.
11, 12.
Yeah.
When this person started molesting me. And it was a weird situation in the sense that I cared for this family. Yeah. Because I knew what they went through. It was horrible, really horrible, but it wasn't right at the same time. Yeah. I live in that, knowing that it's not right. And it was almost that person was possessed and at the time, because they needed counseling, they needed help. Yeah. And
they had been hurt by others. Yeah. And hurt people.
Really bad.
A wound that's not acknowledged is a wound that will never heal. So this is now something that they've learned from modeling. And the only way they can work it out in a bad way is to try it on somebody else. Yeah. And they did repeatedly. And it was a fight. It was a battle for you for some time.
Yeah. It went on for years. And until I was 14, it started being unbearable for me, where I wanted to commit suicide. And I was really close to this friend of mine. She was going through the same thing at the same time with her stepdad. And so we used to confide in each other. And one time I had confided in her that I didn't want to be in this world anymore. And so she had wrote me back saying the things that make her not want to do that is her future, think about her future kids, being married, or different things, what her future would be like.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom found the letter and brought it to light, what was going on. But it wasn't done in a good way, because we used to have these gatherings and stuff at the time,
Mm-hmm.
basically like a home church.
Yeah.
With different families used to come on weekends. So it was brought forward
In a very public
manner in front of the church.
And your biggest fear was, if this comes out, then this family member will be kicked out
Yeah.
and go back to the place where this was happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the things, and obviously the shame that's associated with it.
Yeah, it was really shameful. Now people are more, well, I hope that is more open to talk about things like this.
Yeah.
But back then you don't talk about that.
Yeah.
You keep things in the dark. You just, and even when it comes out, a lot of times the girl is blamed in those times.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. It came out, and even my friend's mom was accusing my friend, saying, this the way she dresses, or this, or the kind of underwears they wear, and different things like that. And like, and we were wearing long skirts at the time.
Yeah. Your dad made you cover your head, never show any sort of chest.
Yeah,
cover
like
all
what I'm
your
wearing.
ankles.
Yeah. So,
And in fact, your dad banned mirrors. There could be no mirrors in the house.
Yeah.
So it was not about beauty.
Yeah.
It was not about look at me. It was not about trying something. It was, you were trying to keep something from happening.
Yeah, well, I guess with my friend's mom, she was trying to deal with, I'm going to lose my husband kind of thing. And she's trying to find, her immature way of dealing with it is trying to find an excuse.
Yeah.
Which was not appropriate in any way.
Yeah.
This is an adult doing this to a child. And, so it didn't come out well, and eventually, of course, my fear was even brought up, like they're about to kick this person out and they're going to go back in the same place where they were being raped every day, So eventually my dad kind of stepped in and kind of bring it back to, deal with it. And it was dealt in a good manner eventually. And then this stopped happening to me. They didn't show out the family member, and they were they changed.
Mm-hmm. Praise God.
Yeah, they had changed and began healing. So
coming out was a good thing.
Coming out was a good thing.
So what advice would you give to somebody who is going through this right now, silently suffering? I remember times we would be in another country and we would hear that a woman would go to the police station saying that I was just raped and then be raped by the policeman. I mean, there are times in places where this is so rampant. I mean, do you know many, if any, Trinidadian females that have not had this rape or molestation?
Yeah.
I mean, it is rampant. What would you say to somebody who is silently suffering right now?
To talk to someone, tell someone about it. Especially someone you may not think, like a parent, or how will this, in my case, I was scared how will this affect the person, and talk about it, bring it out to light. Satan likes to keep things in darkness, and he uses that. When things is kept in the dark, he plays on that.
He thrives.
Yeah. And when things are out in the light, it comes out to light, and you deal with it, and that's when healing begins. And so I would say come out and tell someone about it, a pastor, a trustworthy person who can help bring this out in the right way and deal with it. And I would say that.
Amen. And so after this, at about, how old were you when you finally decided to be baptized?
I was 14.
Okay, so around the same time.
So around the same time when it came out and things.
It brought healing to you in a different way as well.
Yeah.
You started growing your dreads?
No, I started growing my dreads when I was 12.
Okay, 12.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Your dad had been wanting everybody to be baptized, and you kept saying, no, not until I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And at 14, you said, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Your sister.
In that situation, I say, now that it's out, what do I do with it? How do begin healing? Do I dive into bitterness or see the good, what I can get out of it? As I say, I was see things like that in life, and I chose to be better. So
Bitter or better, you choose.
Yeah. So my whole thing was I wanted to get closer to God and rely on God more. So that's why I decided, I want to get baptized as a changed person, changed life. For me at that time, that's what I saw it as. And so that's when
So in your song, Where's the Hope, you sing about can't take no more now. What would you say to somebody out there who's going through this right now, who just can't take no more?
Well, to rely on God, reach at that break point where you have to realize that you can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
And you have to surrender. To me, the no more part is the surrender and realizing that you can't do this on your own.
Yeah. Relying on God. How did prayer tie into all of this for you?
Oh, prayer was the only thing that really got me through. Because, when that moment happened where it came out to light, it wasn't a day and night in this. I was okay. I had to deal with the past of what happened to me. With insecurities, with self-blame, with, all kinds of stuff for some stupid reason. You always blame yourself.
Satan's the accuser.
Yeah.
He just wants to blame.
When this was happened, it was something that was done to you.
Yeah.
And battling with all that kind of thing, I had to just really rely on God a lot.
Yeah.
If
you hadn't had shared it with a friend, if you hadn't had shared it with God, if that friend her mother hadn't have found out, you would have continued to silently suffer, and I believe your life would be very different.
Yeah.
So sharing is a good thing. It may not be an easy thing, but I want to encourage you, and maybe even right now, you're in a place of quarantine. I pray for those who are trapped in a house where this is going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine how much someone would be silently suffering, but don't be silent anymore.
Yeah.
I would reach out to, whether it's, I don't know, police, a family member probably would be the first one to reach out to, somebody that you trust, somebody that isn't going to just gloss over it, but one way or another, this needs to be dealt with, and this needs to be rectified and fixed immediately, because a wound that is not acknowledged is a wound that will never heal.
Yeah.
So as we come to a close, I just want to encourage you. We're going to delve into more of Avion's story and how we met, a story that I don't think any of you have ever heard, on a future episode. But right now, I want to end with the answer to that first question she poses in the beginning of Moment to Pray. Where's the hope? We found it. Where is the hope?
Oh, hope is in Christ, I would say. It's easy. Prayer is easy. Like in that moment, I pray for God to take out any bitterness in my heart and fill it with love. Any negative thing, to fill it with His Spirit, His Holy Spirit. As simple as that. Just opening up your heart, surrendering, and believing, having faith that He would do that.
Amen. And if you've been wronged, how do you learn to forgive that person that has wronged you?
The same. Naturally, the natural human inclination is not to forgive. It's to seek justice for what that person has done to you. Simply relying back on God again. God to fill your heart with forgiveness. Because the forgiveness is not just for them. The forgiveness is for you.
Otherwise, it becomes like a toxin. It poisons you.
Yeah, you become a prisoner to hate, and that person is going on living their life. You are still being affected by that poison.
Yeah, I've heard it said that when you forgive someone, you set a prisoner free. Yourself.
Yeah, and it's very true.
So, and there may be a circumstance, things that have happened to me in the past that have been done by people that really hurt me, where they never asked forgiveness, where I was encouraged by a pastor to put a chair across from me and pretend like that person is there and just get it all out and forgive them even though they may never ask for forgiveness, to give that grace. You talk about forgiveness as a fragrance that a flower leaves on the heel that crushes it. In the song, Forgiveness or Grace and Peace to You, you definitely embody that. And because of that, you are not broken, but you are whole in Christ. And I just want to encourage anybody out there, if you are hurting somebody, repent, stop now. Seek help, seek counsel. If you've been hurt, don't hide it anymore. Get it out, share it with somebody of the faith that you trust, and make sure that this does not happen again.
Yeah.
No matter how much you love them,
Break the curse.
break the curse, break the cycle, or it will break you. And most importantly, the hope is found in Jesus. The peace is found in Jesus. And you can have that peace. You can own that peace right now by inviting the Prince of Peace into your hearts. All you have to do is say this prayer, the same prayer that Avion prayed when she was just a teenager after going through all this. Just to say these words out loud. Say, Lord Jesus, repeat after me. Lord Jesus, I can't do it on my own. I need your help. Forgive me of my sins. Make me whole. Cleanse me. Make me new. Thank you for dying for me. I choose to live for you. Give me heaven. Thank you for forgiving me. I will follow you from this day forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Word, Sound, and Power Hour.
So give me the word, sound, and power, I need it today. The word, it is the scriptures and what they mouth is say. The sound, it is jam music, that we play, it's reggae.
Thank you for listening to the Word, Sound, and Power Hour. To partner with us now, please go to Christafari.com/donate. There is hope for you today. May you rejoice always, give thanks in all circumstances, and take a moment to pray. God bless you.
So